Hello, friends. This is Kitty Cat with some news I found in the New York Times. Huge jury award against Palestinian groups in terrorism case. The Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian Liberation Organization were found liable on Monday by a jury in Manhattan for their roles in knowingly supporting 6 terrorist attacks in Israel between 2002 and 2004, in which Americans were killed and injured. The damages are to be $655.5 million under a special terrorism law that provides for tripling the $218.5 million awarded by the jury in federal district court. The verdict ended in a decade-long battle to hold the Palestinian organizations responsible for the terrorist acts. While the decision was a huge victory for the dozens of plaintiffs, it could also serve to strengthen Israel's claims that supposedly more moderate Palestinian forces were directly linked to terrorism. The final implications of the verdict for the defendants were not immediately clear. The Palestinian groups said in a statement that they intended to appeal the verdict but did not address their willingness or capacity to pay. In at least 2 previous cases in which judges entered default judgments against them for more than $100 million, the groups reached confidential settlements, court records show. Lawyers for the plaintiffs said that if the plaintiff groups refused to pay, they were confident that they would be able to seize the group's assets both in the United States and abroad. The verdict came in the 7th week of a civil trial during which the jury heard emotional testimony from survivors of suicide bombings and other attacks in Jerusalem, in which a total of 33 people were killed and more than 450 were injured. Money is the oxygen for terrorism, Kent A. Yalowitz, a lawyer for families, said in a closing argument on Thursday, adding that the anti-terrorism law hits those who send terrorists where it hurts them the most, in the wallet. The case was brought under the Anti-Terrorism Act, which allows the American citizens who are victims of internal terrorism to sue in the United States courts. The law was used in September by a Brooklyn jury to find Liable for supporting terrorism by Hamas. Damages in that case, filed by about 300 victims of 24 terrorist attacks, are to be decided in a second trial, which has not yet been held. In the Palestinian case, the plaintiffs included 10 families, comprising about 3 dozen members, 8 of whom were physically injured in the attacks, while the others were left with deep psychological scars, testimony showed. The plaintiffs also included the estates of 4 victims who had been killed in the attacks, which occurred on the street and at a crowded bus stop, inside a bus, and in a cafeteria on the campus of Hebrew University. It was a terrible thing to see, one plaintiff, Robert Coulter, Sr., 78, testified as he described watching a news report about the cafeteria bombing and realizing his 36-year-old daughter, a New Yorker on a business trip, was one of the victims. They brought a body bag out on the TV station, right on it, and went right down to where she was laying, and I knew it was a girl. Had blonde hair, Mr. Cutler recalled. I said, "Oh my goodness, that's Janice." The defense had argued that their clients had nothing to do with the attacks. Mark J. Rockin, a defense lawyer, told the jury on Thursday that he did not want the bad guys, the killers, the people who did this, to get away while the Palestinian Authority or the PLO pay for something they did not do. Hanan Asharari, a member of the PLO's executive committee who testified for the defense, told the jury, "We tried to prevent violence from all sides." But citing testimony, payroll records, and other documents, the plaintiffs showed that many of those involved in the planning and the carrying out of attacks had been employees of the Palestinian Authority, and that the authority had paid salaries to terrorists imprisoned in Israel and had made martyr payments to the families of suicide bombers. The Palestinian Authority and the PLO said in a statement that they were deeply disappointed in the verdict, calling the lawsuit's charges baseless. "We will appeal this decision," Dr. Mohammed Khalafi, the president of the Palestinian Authority's Deputy Minister of Information, said in a statement. We are confident that we will prevail as long as we have faith in the U.S. legal system and are certain about our common sense belief and our strong legal standing. This case is just the latest attempt by hard-lined anti-peace factions in Israel to use and abuse the U.S. legal system to advance their narrow political and ideological agenda, Dr. Kalefi added. He also called the decision a tragic disservice to the millions of Palestinians who have invested in the democratic process and the rule of law in order to seek justice and readdress their grievances. Lawyers for the plaintiffs said they could seek orders to have the defendants' bank accounts frozen and to require them to turn over real estate and their property. The judgments also could be taken to other countries where the defendants do business or have assets, Mr. Yalowitz, one of the lawyers, said. Once you have a judgment, the PA and the PLO, if they don't pay, are like any other deadbolt debtor, he said. The Palestinian Authority, led by Mahmoud Abbas, had serious financial troubles even before Israel as punishment for the Palestinians moving in December to join the International Criminal Court, beginning withholding more than $100 million a month in tax revenue it collects on the Palestinians' behalf. Nitzana Darshan Letner, another of the family's lawyers, said the plaintiffs would also go after those taxes. And we are going to put pressure on those who are negotiating with them, with those who have relationships with them, to make sure that the Palestinian Authority respects the American law, respects an American jury ruling, and pays their debt, Mr. Darshanan Letner said. Our goal is to get this judgment paid. We did it before. We're going to do it this time. All right, friends, leave me your thoughts and comments, and have a good night.